What's up guys, it has been a while since I made a discussion video, and I apologize for that. Currently I'm still getting used to my new job, and putting a well-thought discussion content is quite difficult for me. And to those who still watch me, I thank you for your continued support and understanding. Anyway, we are here to talk about the latest content of Honkai Star Rail, specifically about the story of Xianzhou Alliance. But before we discuss the specific, I just want to mention first that I really like what Star Rail does with their story content after they are done with the main story of the new area. And usually many people call these few versions before a new area comes up as a filler content, which I personally dislike using that term because it has more negative connotation to it, since most of the time filler content usually has no effect on larger plot, or in other words, whether it happens or not, it doesn't really matter. Which is very different from Star Rail Trailblazing continuance story, as this event shows that the other places and the people who live there continue to live their own life and keep facing new problems that arise due to unresolved issues. And then we as a Trailblazer end up resolving that particular issue, because we're the main character, right? However, this shows that the story is not completely revolving around us, the main character, and outside our Trailblazer expedition, things still happening out there in the background, which I personally think that it is a great world building method. Just want to mention, this is a classic Trails world building style, and it makes us more immersed in the world of fiction that we're playing. And I'm really glad that Star Rail devs do learn a thing or two from Trails games. And I hope that Star Rail devs continue to learn from the good writing and world building from Trails games, like especially Trails in the Sky. Alright, sorry for yapping out there. Let's talk about the main topic. Also be warned, this contains spoiler, so if you haven't finished the latest story of version 2.5, I suggest you finish it first and come back to this video later. I've given you enough time, so let's begin. So, after the incident with Hule, as you guys have noticed, it feels like instead of concluding the story of Xianzhou Alliance, it opens up even more potential story arcs. So for this discussion video, I want to ask a question. What's next for Xianzhou arc? So I'm going to point out a few potential interesting points that might become a Trailblazer continuance story, or even an event story much like the Warden's story. If you have your own idea, feel free to leave your idea in the comment section below. Okay, the first one, and also the most obvious one, will be Tingrun and Ruanmei. The version 2.4 and 2.5 has been hinting on this very heavily, especially towards the end, and there are some late information regarding this, but I'm not going to discuss about them in this video. And those who doesn't mind and really wants to know more information about it, feel free to find the leak information, and you can find that online. Okay, at the very least, we already know that Ruanmei will be involved with Xianzhou's story, as she was the one who found the ship that Tingrun boarded, which was assumed to be attacked by Pantilia. This was first talked about when Yukong was asking Feixiao about Tingrun in version 2.4, with Feixiao replying that they come to a location where Tingrun's ship was supposed to be, but found nothing but wreckage, and somehow they managed to find out that Ruanmei was the first one to discover that ship. So it could be two things, right? Either Ruanmei found Tingrun, or Ruanmei found some clues regarding Pantilia. And this was further confirmed towards the end of the story of version 2.5 as Ruanmei landing in Xianzhou loufu, and the conversation that feels like Ruanmei asking who Tingrun is, and then cut to black. So this means that we might see Tingrun and Ruanmei very soon, maybe after Rappa, after version 2.6, or we might end up have to wait until version 3. We'll have to wait and see. So finally, the answer that we have been seeking for over 1 year ago might get an answer soon. What exactly happened to Tingrun and Pantilia? Since Tingrun feels like a very important connection with Pantilia and try to defeat her eventually, I would assume that this particular plot point might worth at least 1/3 of a Trailblazer continuous story for one update. We need some details of what actually happened on Tingrun. I hope they use a lot of CG art, like what they did with Acheron and also during the version 2.5 back with Jiaoqiu and Feixiao flashback, since that really enhanced the storytelling of Honkai Star Rail, in my personal opinion. And other than that, what did Tingrun do while she was with Ruanmei? What did Ruanmei do to her, if anything, because Ruanmei is kind of crazy, right? I wonder if this has any connection with what Well and Himiko are gonna give to Ruanmei. I think some kind of fossil. Does that have anything to do with Tingyun? Or is that more towards Ruanmei's own story? I'm very curious. Also, since last time Ruanmei researched about the emanator of propagation, and she implied wants to be an ion, will she try to be interested to research Penthelia as well? Or will she be interested with whatever Locha and Jinglu is carrying in the coffin? Or ultimately, will Ruanmei join as one of the more important characters in Xianzhou arc? There are many potential possibilities, and I really can't wait to see the answer to this. Alright, the second potential story, I briefly mentioned Locha and Jinglu. So other than Tingyun, the other plot that I can't wait to see the continuation will be our own Auto Apocalypse, aka Locha, and also Braxophone's favorite wife, Jinglu. Since version 1.4 during Jinglu's story, we were kinda introduced to another unknown faction, which is currently we only know consisting of Locha, that has a goal to kill Yaoshi for some reason, much like the Xianzhou Alliance. With Jinglu, we could guess her motive as she is a Xianzhou native and also she is Mara-struck and she's planning to get it off the root of problem perhaps. But as for Locha, we know nothing about him. As someone that is Auto Apocalypse from another universe, he bound to have a major role to play, and yet over 1.5 years into the game, we still know nothing about the man. Where is he from? Is he just a merchant? Why he has a healing power that can almost heal anything? Remember, he heals Xueyi. Xueyi has a puppet body, not a flesh, and it heals, not repair? Which is very interesting. Why does he want to kill Yaoshi? How did he meet up with Jinglu and end up working together? And then in his story information, if you check the character information, he received that coffin from someone else and he promised that someone to use it somehow. And who is that person? So many questions with no answers. Currently, apparently, both Locha and Jinglu have finished being interrogated and even had an audience with the Marshal of Xianzhou Alliance. And apparently Locha is carrying a fragment of propagation inside the coffin as a weapon to kill Yaoshi. This, rather than getting answer, it kinda raises more question. How did the person that gave this to him manage to find this fragment? How does he know this is a part of propagation power? How can we know that it can kill Yaoshi? Too many questions. I think that the whole backstory of Locha and Jinglu might worth 1 or 2 updates explaining the past, what did they experience during the interrogation, and what they will do moving forward. This is an important plot point that many people would love to see being addressed properly, not just off-screen thing being talked by other person. Otherwise, me personally will feel very dissatisfied by it. I was hoping to see some cutscenes between Locha and Jinglu, maybe even a CG art, kind of try to show what they are doing at the moment, how they are being interrogated. So even though it's not being shown in version 2.4 and 2.5 because it's not the main focus, but I do hope the moment that we're focusing back to them, we're gonna get a good explanation regarding this, and it needs to be presented in a good way. At least using its CG scenes to show the flashbacks, just like what they did with Acheron's story, back in Penacony main story. Okay, now we are moving to slightly shorter potential plot point. The first one will be involving the other 3 Xianzhou ships. So far, we have met the delegation of 2 other ships, Xianzhou Juming, represented by General Huiyan, and Xianzhou Yaoqing, represented by General Feixiao. And according to General Feixiao, both Feixiao and Huiyan are more reasonable general compared to some other generals, like General Yao Guang from Yucue and General Yao Wu from Shuling. So knowing this information, probably we're going to see some of the generals not being friendly towards Astral Express and loufu, and maybe even there might be some kind of new plot or new enemy that involves both Xianzhou Yucue and Xianzhou Shuling, and maybe even a bit deeper into the politics around the Xianzhou Alliance. But first, with how we get to hear Yao Guang's voice towards the end of the story of version 2.5, Most likely, when we are continuing with the big Xianzhou arc, probably we're going to be introduced properly to General Yao Guang. If I have to guess, probably she will show up along with the continuation of Jinglu and Locha story, since she was kinda interrogating them using some kind of device in Xianzhou Yucue. And my personal hope, I really want General Huiyan will also be playable by then. I won't expect us to see the other 3 generals at once, so I kinda guess we might just settle with General Yao Guang and with the other 2 generals much later. Another potential plot point, probably we're going to visit Xianzhou Yaoqing and perhaps trying to find some clue on how to help Jiao Chu getting his sight back. And also, despite the story was involving Moze, we didn't see much of him. If you read into his story, he was actually a victim of the Sanctus Medicus. He has a very sad backstory, I would say. But I think an in-game exposure is necessary to understand his character better. So there should be an event that involves him as the central character, much like how it was with Shu Xiang with Arum Alley, the ghost hunting involving Gui Naifen, and the war that's involving Luca. So in the future, if we do end up visiting Xianzhou Yaoqing, I really hope that we get to see more of Moze's story. Lastly, an important plot that needs to be shown, I think, in the distant future, we should be able to see the appearance of the Marshal of Xianzhou fleet and the leader of all Xianzhou Alliance generals, the Marshal Hua. She has been mentioned a couple of times. Now I would assume the devs are starting to build in some lore and stories for her involvement. We don't know much about her, except that it feels like she is very wise and she's able to trust Jing Yuan to carry on leading Xianzhou Loufu after the disband of High Clock Quintet, and also sending Feixiao and Huiyan to interrogate Jing Yuan, since the marshal judged that these 2 will do a good job dispelling any doubts regarding Jing Yuan's capability and involvement with the Denizen of Abundance and being a traitor to Xianzhou Alliance. The first appearance that comes to mind when we are going to see her, probably when Jinglu and Locha being put on trial by all of the 7 generals, and perhaps verifying the information regarding the coffin that Locha is carrying around. If she's a marshal of whole Xianzhou Alliance, and if she ends up being playable, I bet she will be extremely powerful. And I hope she's an interesting character too. Alright, that's all of my current speculation on what could happen next with Xianzhou arc. Bear in mind, the Xianzhou arc is very important because it ties directly with our main goal of destroying Nanook, or even going to war with Nanook, because Pantelia is one of Nanook Emanator, our Lord Ravager, and defeating Pantelia that means that we might end up crippling some of Nanook's main force. So writing a good Xianzhou arc is really important here, and I hope the devs can do a good job with it. But I believe we still have way to go when it comes to concluding the story of Xianzhou. It might take a few more years, and perhaps with the end goal of finally defeating Pantelia for good, and perhaps even killing Yao Shi. How about you guys? Do you have any interesting theory and speculation on how the story could develop? Let me know in the comment section. And I thank you all for watching. Once again, terribly sorry for the lack of discussion these days, as my new job really drains my energy and time. And those who still tune in for my content, I really thank you. Anyway, I'm really excited for the future of Honkai Star Rail, and I'm really looking forward to see which of the plot that we will see next. Is it Tingyan? Is it Locha and Jinglu? Maybe completely a new plot and new enemies that involves the other Xianzhou ships and the other generals. I'm really looking forward to that. Okay? That's all. The next video, stay sharp gamers.
Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe!